When I say there is no such thing as African American culture.
Now, this is really interesting. Now, mind you, this is why we have a problem with tethers. We have a problem with tethers because they are our inferior in pretty much every way. And while being our inferior, they seek to attack us, which makes sense because when you're the top dog, you're going to get attacked. When you are the top of the black people, unfortunately, your own kind will attack you. But the thing is, they're not our own kind. And that's precisely why I have SAS in Africa. Because even in the 54 nation states of Africa, you have many people who are bright, capable, well-meaning, good folks, and they lack a proper leader, proper ideology, and a proper self-view. And so we are teaching them, and we're going to get on the ground even more in Africa and build that up. And we identify with the saints. That's our culture. And we can define that for those who don't know what it is. But this fellow right here, what you're about to see him attempt to do is lie. This is not an uncommon thing, unfortunately, but in particular, he's using the tactic of redefining words. Yes. So culture has a pre-existing definition. And in fact, he's not an anthropologist, nor is he in any position to redefine such a commonly used word. And only in redefining culture is he able to suggest that the Black American has no culture. So he has to first redefine it so that he can say we don't have it. Now, further question is not, well, do Black Americans have culture? It's, yeah, they have culture. Is it a good culture? Is it a bad culture? Does culture change? How do you change culture? And these are all the occupations of men of action, those questions. But this fellow is a sophist and a coffee shop revolutionary. And then he tries to babble against the Black American, probably to make him more palatable to the Europeans, whom he clearly loves. Because just imagine, you have a culture, but you don't want to be in it. You don't want to take your raggedy ass back to Benin and live there. I also acknowledge Omari. He writes, for your time to do this and appreciation for honoring a member's request to cover this topic. I was also curious about what you thought about this conversation. Peace of the Saints from Sasson, Texas. Yeah, let's go ahead and dig in. The unfortunate thing is I almost never hear anything new. Shout out to Kinchley, who actually requested this topic. And so, of course, honored him as he honors me. And that's the beautiful thing about the Sasson, is that we show love to those who show love to us. I also acknowledge Colin, who just became a member on skool.com, SKOOL.com. Carrying on.
Like, what do you mean? Well, culture for me is not dance, food, clothing. Those are not cultures. Culture is a.
Now, I'm not familiar with the show, so I don't know how sharp the hosts are or are not. I think right here, it would be the appropriate time to say, oh, whoa, are you redefining a word? Who are you to redefine the word culture? Is this your academic background? Have you written a dissertation on culture? Are you a cultural anthropologist? Like, how do you get to redefine what culture is? Because surely dress is an aspect of culture. Folkways, mores, song, dance, all of these things are aspects of culture. It's how you recognize culture, how you recognize someone to be a part of a culture. These are all critical aspects. So the idea that this random guy who sits like a fruitcake is able to redefine culture, the definition in a language that he doesn't even speak flawlessly, is utterly bizarre. Gentleman asks, no super chat. Yes, that's correct. There is no super chat. You can use the information below or the information in the description, which provides you 4 ways of supporting the work: PayPal, Venmo, Bitcoin, or Stripe, which is just like a regular link you would use to make any everyday purchase. Shout out to Albatar supporting the work. He writes, Peace of Saints reminds me of the other Africans who start any sentence by saying, listen to me, let me tell you something. respect to the commander, assassin or nothing, in a real way, man, in a real way. May also acknowledge Brad. He came in supporting the work by Venmo. Appreciate you, much respect. May also acknowledge Zachary. He writes, peace to you, Marquette. How was your day and how are you feeling as of late? The day was a bit rough, and it's often because most of my days are fantastic. I have a really good life. I'm very thankful. And every day, at least 3 times a day, I specifically reflect and on gratitude. What am I grateful for? However, sometimes I encounter folks who are, they don't reflect what I would like to see in the world. And when you have to encounter folks who, may not quite be good people, it's draining for someone like me, which is one of the reasons that I live on a plantation away from people. But I did have one bright spot today, which I went to a restaurant, which I almost never go to restaurants. I only went because this is the guy who actually usually caters for my events here when I host the Saints. We had the big game conference, had my 2 leadership summits. He caters. So I went to his restaurant. And when I was coming out, I actually didn't see the gentleman. My lady saw the gentleman, and she's like, "Oh, hey, that guy's like talking to you." Because me, when I'm pretty much laser focused and I'm fast moving. And so met a gentleman, I want to say, was his name Terrell? Something like that. Like, think maybe like something like Terrell. So met a saint, or maybe a fan, maybe not a member, but seemingly a good person. So that was a pleasant thing. And so yes, all in all, I don't have much to complain about, but always trying to insulate myself to make sure that I'm only around good people. Anyways, thank you for asking. I hope you are well as well. Acknowledge Arthur. He writes, "I'm a tether." I was at a Nigerian event and everyone loved talking about their degrees and jobs. Shout out, but why is there no Wi-Fi in our village? F that. I said, "I'm a tether." Beautiful thing. And the funny thing is, and I saw someone in the live chat had wrote this, but being that they didn't send it as a super chat, I figured maybe they're not so serious. And they say, well, why drive division between foundational Black Americans and Africans? If you actually follow my work, that's not the case at all. That's precisely why we have SAS in Africa, because Africans are important. Africa is important. In fact, I'm perhaps the only person pushing right now to have Africa go nuclear. Yes, Africa needs nuclear weapons and much else. And so I want you guys to mark my words. I'm the first to push forth that idea. And you'll see other people pick it up later, generally when it's too late. But, Africa, I travel to many times a year. And in fact, I'll be back to Africa very soon. When I use the term tether, I'm really describing that particular African personality that is trying to impress the colonizers. This is the parallel to the foundational Black American personality that you would call a bootlicker, or the one who goes to tell massa or go tell the overseer that people aren't picking cotton fast enough. And so I use the term to describe that particular subgroup. And unfortunately, in the African diaspora and or on the continent, there's a great many of these people. And that's precisely why we have SAS in Africa, so we can teach our 3-sentence Torah, our 3-sentence Bible, our 3-sentence Quran. Number 1, be yourself. Number 2, be good to yourself. Number 3, be good to good people. Be yourself. Be good to yourself. Be good to good people. Be yourself. You're an African. You should know your own history. Most of you don't. You see this Frank Zanu fellow, he's going to claim that Blacks don't have culture and they don't have this and they don't have that. And some of the things I trust will be valid, like saying Black people don't have a language of their own. They have a dialect, not quite a language. And their history is quite a bit cut short. And they don't know all of their history. They don't know much of their history, I think would be better stated. Africans have a history that, wasn't started recently from an ethnic perspective, yet they still don't know their history. So that's why the 3-sentence Bible is going to be so critical in Africa. Be yourself, which means you have to know who you are. And then be good to yourself means you have to be good to yourself as Africans. Africa for the Africans, not for the Chinese, not for the Arabs, not for the Europeans. Yes. Be good to good people. There's some among you who are traitors and they need to be rooted out. There's some among you who are greedy, bad people. They need to be dealt with, and then leave the good. So that is our effort there. Anyways, may I acknowledge, and as I often remind, the Sasson is a movement for all of mankind. The Black, the white, the Arab, the Jew, everyone.